Hi, my name is Tareq AlBanai. I am Ambassador Permanent Representative of the State of Kuwait to the United Nations. I'm currently in my dream job. Like many Kuwaitis, during our hardest time, the invasion of Kuwait in 1990, I was studying abroad. I was in the United States. And when I saw our ambassadors, the late Ambassador Sheikh Saud Al Nasser Al Sabah, God rest his soul, and His Excellency Ambassador Mohammed Abu Hassan, on television every day, working so hard and liaising with all the members of the international community, trying to bring the voice of truth, trying to explain what we were about and what the situation was about and how we were wronged and how everything that was done to us went against all principles and purposes of the Charter of the United Nations and resolutions of the international community. When I saw them do that, it was simultaneously the birth of CNN at the time. And like many other students in the United States, especially those studying international relations or political science, we were glued to our televisions, watching every step of this process. I knew right then that this is exactly what I wanted to be. This is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to further the truth about Kuwait. I wanted to defend Kuwait in international forums, and I wanted to represent the true identity of our people to the international community. So I cannot begin to stress how important the United Nations is to the state of Kuwait. I am here today in this position thanks to the United Nations in no small part. The Security Council was instrumental in the state of Kuwait regaining its freedom, its territorial integrity. And I had a team of brilliant diplomats here at the United Nations, at the State of Kuwait's United Nations mission. We cover all aspects of the work of the United Nations, from disarmament to economic and financial, to human rights, to special political, to financial and administrative, and to legal. We also deal with all pertinent and relevant issues on the international agenda of peace and security, of sustainable development, and our work is multifaceted, diverse, and instrumental in applying the norms of the international community, the regulations that we all come together as 193 countries and stakeholders of all kinds, from NGOs and indigenous populations and other representatives present at the United Nations, to try to make this a better world for all of us. So there are a lot of issues that have a priority for the state of Kuwait. Of course, conflict resolution, preventive diplomacy come high on this list. Also, issues pertaining to prisoners of war and missing persons are very high on the list. We will never forget the sacrifices of our martyrs and prisoners of war during the invasion of Kuwait and thereafter. In fact, when we were on the Security Council, we insisted on passing the first ever resolution from the Security Council dealing exclusively with the issue of missing persons. We have made it, we have worked very hard with the International Committee for the Red Cross and Red Crescent, and we worked part with many stakeholders and many countries affected by the same issue. Unfortunately, one of the first and most devastating consequences of war, aside from the loss of life, is people who go missing, because families are affected, And for many, many years, these files are not closed, and people don't know the fate of their loved ones and their missed ones. And we insisted on putting together a set of norms that must be followed by warring parties at the outset of any conflict. And that would help in the long run, first of all, to alleviating the suffering of not only those that have gone missing, but their families as well, knowing their fate, even if they are, God forbid, deceased. We have put provisions in the resolution to make sure that warring parties inform the ICRC and the families of those that have gone missing, of anybody that may have been deceased, and to ensure the proper handling of their remains, so that families have at least the satisfaction of burying those loved ones that have gone missing. Another issue that we have always been interested in since 1974 is the issue of nuclear disarmament, and working on establishing a nuclear weapon free zone in the Middle East. Kuwait was the president of the second ever conference on the nuclear weapon free zone in the Middle East last year, and we were instrumental in passing a set of outcomes from that have paved the way for the establishment of such a zone, including a political declaration, rules of procedure going forward, establishing a working committee that continues the work of the conference in between sessions on a yearly basis. So let me tell you about working in a multilateral setting. In the world of diplomacy, you can work in many, many different settings. The most prominent and the most that you see are in a bilateral setting, whereby somebody represents his country in another country, and in the multilateral setting, which is like the United Nations here in New York, or in Geneva, or in Vienna, or in Nairobi, and elsewhere around the world. The beauty of working in a multinational setting is that the agenda is diverse, and we get to deal with every single pressing issue on the world stage. You know that the premier body that deals with peace and security in the world is the Security Council. And the Security Council has over 60 agenda items on its program. So, as you can imagine, the Council deals with several different issues every single week. So the work is ever changing and is always important. There's also over 100 agenda items on the General Assembly's program. And we deal from issues from disarmament to water to pandemics to the environment, all sorts of issues that affect the everyday lives of people. And the one good thing about this is that there are 193 countries represented in New York. It's actually the biggest diplomatic community in the world. And you don't have to try very hard to reach your counterparts. Everybody's available every single day at the United Nations. In one day, I will meet 3 representatives from African countries, 5 from Asian countries, 6 from European countries, and so on and so forth. And we discuss and try to further the goals that we all agree on, because we all have commonalities. We live in one world. We have threats that are worldwide, that we all have to find ways to grapple with and to further the means by which we deal with them. Well, the obstacles you face working in this multinational settings is sometimes the priorities you have are not the priorities that other states or groups of states might have. So, in essence, you need to try to convince your fellow representatives of the need to push a certain agenda item forward, and the need for us to cooperate on setting the standards that will ultimately help everyone involved. And that requires a lot of convincing, that requires a lot of empathy. People need to understand why this is a priority for you. People need to know how it affects you and how it affects your people or your country. Something like desertification. Some countries are losing every year a percentage of their territory due to desertification. And it's something that we can all work together for. We live in a globalized world. Anything that happens in one part of the world necessarily today affects another part of the world. We might not have known that some years ago, but today, with the advent of technology and the world, the holistic view that we all have of the world allows us to see these things, allows us to pinpoint something that happens today in Uganda that will have an effect on Kuwait. So the constant need to make people aware of the challenges that you face as a country or as a community make it very important to continuously be engaged with your colleagues here, and at all levels. I'm the ambassador here, but I have colleagues who are counselors, colleagues who are third secretaries and first secretaries, and at all levels we engage, and we engage every single day to try to bring clarity to the issues of importance to us. Well, let me tell you something. From the level of Secretary General to every other person in the United Nations who has been involved in matters related to multilateralism has understood that we need to give the youth a voice and a seat at the table, because we are becoming, people of my age are becoming a minority. The youth are the majority of this world. You are the future of this world. And we need to listen to your voices, and we need to understand your concerns, and we need to understand what it is that you have set for yourselves as priorities. And once we understand that, we can, in many ways, try to change the perspective and the agenda and the way we work to ensure that the opportunities that you deserve, the opportunities that will make your life better, the opportunities to make the world that you see in the future a reality, requires that you have a seat on the table, and requires that you are engaged in all these processes from the beginning. And this is something we sincerely believe in, as us here at the Kuwait Mission and in the country at large, as most of Kuwaitis are under the age of 30. So this is your world, and we are only working to prepare it for you. And you need to be engaged, you need to be aware, you need to understand what the challenges are, because with you come the solutions. We are only here as a transitory element in the fulfillment of your future. So without listening to your voices, we are unable to do our jobs. And that is why it's important for you to keep raising your voices and flagging your concerns and making your priorities clear to your colleagues, to your friends, to your age groups, and to us in positions where we can affect those changes for your future. Look, every voice matters. Everybody matters in their own circle. Everybody matters in their wider groupings, in their communities. Everything you do matters. I'll tell you a small story. My son has a rare disease. My son has a deadly disease. He has been an advocate for this disease since the age of 2, before he even understood what it was. He was there, he was coming into making small little videos, participating in studies. Those studies today have culminated in breakthroughs in the ways we understand that disease and in the ways that we deal with that disease. And my little boy, who I'm so proud of, from the age of 2, has begun to affect change. So I'm telling you, change is in your hands, and it's never too early and it's never too late. So please, be engaged. Understand what it is that your priorities are. Understand what your country needs from you. Understand what your community needs from you, and advocate for it and push for it and work as hard as you can at the earliest possible time, because once you are engaged, those around you will feel the need to do the same. So I encourage you, get involved, work with charities, do community service, play in sports, travel with your sports team, learn about new cultures, meet new people, understand how they think and why they think that way. Because the more we understand each other, the more we are able to come to solutions together. Honestly, I could not be prouder of the youth of Kuwait and the youth of the world in general, to be honest. We have so many examples of breakthroughs and of advocacy and of issues coming to the forefront of the global agenda because of the youth. This is a more engaged community than we've seen in the past, because the opportunities that the technological breakthroughs over the last 30 years have provided you make you more ready than we ever were to face challenges. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful in the future of my country. I'm very hopeful in the achievements that you will surely do. So please carry on. Best of luck to you, and God bless.